Hello, boys and girls. Today, I want to talk to you about a older handgun that I think really holds its own against the new handguns of today. So we have the CZ P01. So the original CZ was released in 1975, so almost 50 years old. The P01 was released in 2003. So this is a CZ compact with the addition of a rail, and instead of a safety, you get a decocker. So compact style firearm, 15 round capacity, double single trigger with decocker. So your first trigger pull is going to be about 8 pounds, very long. The reset is a little long and a little bit of slack after that, and a longer trigger pull even in single action. It's not super short out of the box. There are companies like Cajun Gunworks that exist that will do a really nice job at upgrading this trigger. You can do a little flatter trigger and short reset, and those are great. You know, it's an added expense, but the trigger is not, as bad as it feels to sit here and play with it. When shooting with it, it's not that bad. The P01 CZs have a very low recoil, and a big part of that is your internal slide rails. So instead of having the rails come over the outside, you have the rails on the inside, which makes the slide significantly smaller. And smaller, lighter, less reciprocating mass, less felt recoil, as well as being a hammer fired gun. You have the drag from the hammer as it goes back to slow down that recoil so you don't feel it as much. The ergonomics of it, your slide release, your magazine release is nice. You got a little texture on there, easy to hit, easy to reach. Your slide stop, I like this little step. It doesn't stick out too far. It's not that easy to ride it. Your decocker stays out of the way when you're in your shooting position, but it is easy to get to when you want to decock. I will say the downside with the 75 rail, the CZ in general, rail design with the internal slides is there's not a lot of real estate to grab onto. So it is harder to run this slide than something with a lot more meat to it. But these cutouts are very sharp. I mean, they dig into your hand when you grab them. So they work well. Even for having so little to grab onto, they do have a lot to grab. If you're wearing gloves, they are a little hard to use. But they are sharp and they grab your fingers and you don't really slip off. Even if you barely grab it, you're not slipping off of it because they are very sharp. Stock sights are good. You have rubber grips from the factory. They are changeable. You can get G10, you can get wood, you can get aluminum, steel, brass, whatever, different sizes, shapes, all kinds of stuff. The grip changeability is awesome. Custom parts for CZs are all over the place, and multiple companies will do trigger jobs, and you can get them cut for optics. So, I mean, we are talking about a 20-year-old firearm, so it does not have an optic cut option. But it does have the ability to be cut. There's lots of companies that do it. Which makes it competitive, which makes it cheap. So it's not like one of those, there's only one person who does this and they're going to charge whatever they want. So, it's a very good, smooth shooting handgun. It weighs 28 ounces, 15 round capacity, 3 1/4 inch barrel. There's not a lot to complain about. And then we can compare it to, the king of today, in my opinion, is the PDP. So you got a 4-inch barrel, 24 ounces, so about 4 ounces lighter, 15 round capacity, exactly the same. A better trigger out of the box with the performance duty trigger is one of the best on the market for a striker fired pistol, in my opinion. And, just really one of the best triggers on a stock gun out there, especially for a duty gun anyways. Let's not talk about competition stuff. But, with the PDP, you don't have interchangeable grip sides. You got back straps that you can change out. You could add a brass one in. I have messed with this gun and, have a brass guide rod to add a little bit of weight in the front, different spring rate, and, it just does not shoot as good as this one. And I have done a lot to smooth this one out, and it's the smoothest one I've ever shot. And this one is even smoother. It weighs a little bit more, but not really enough to notice. It's a very comfortable weight, very well balanced feeling. But like size wise, you've got just the girth on that damn slide on the PDP is so big, and trying to carry these guns inside the waistband, that's taking up more room in your belt, making your holster wider, more uncomfortable. You have a lot to grab onto, very easy to manipulate with gloves, which is a downside. You don't have nearly as much real estate to grab onto with this one. But just the width of these guns, this one is so much better to hold the same amount of rounds. The grip is a little bit wider, but you can change that and not lose any capacity. For a carry gun, I think this is much better, in my opinion. I like the double single trigger. Not everybody does, but I do like the safety of that 8-pound trigger pull on your first one versus, if something blocks that trigger safety, it's not a very heavy trigger. It's to bump if that trigger safety gets blocked. You don't have a trigger safety here, but, trying to actuate that and get it all the way back to get it to break is a whole lot harder. And if you train enough, that a lot of people's complaints when they do the double action shot is usually their first shot is very poor, and then their follow-up shots in single action are much better. So, but I mean, if you train through that, you get used to it, you get better. Even compare it to like the P99 versus the PDP. I mean, this gun is smaller, and you have that rounded off slide. That the PDP is just a brick on top of there, and we're still smaller here in the CZ. I love the ergonomics of the CZ. My USPSA gun that I shoot is a TS2. So you get almost identical ergonomics, same grip angles, and interchangeable parts even between the two, which is great. I just think this is a really good handgun for being 20 years old, extremely reliable. The U.S. Army tested these. They have a test where they shoot a bunch of rounds through a handgun and see how many times they have a failure. The P-01, with 15,000 rounds through each gun that they tested, they had on average 7 malfunctions in the P-01. If that doesn't tell you it's reliable, then I don't know what does. You compare it to like a micro compact, like a P365, you're going to be way more accurate with this. It's going to have way less recoil, and it's not that much more to carry. I carry this every single day, and it's big, but I do it. But then I started carrying this, and I never want to carry the PDP again because it has less recoil. I trust the reliability, and it's so much smaller and easier to carry. Even though it is a little bit heavier, it's not bad. I think for being a 20-year-old handgun, the CZ75 P01 is definitely something you should look into buying. So give it a shot. Tell me what you think. What's your experience with CZs? I like them a lot. And this one is just great. I hadn't owned one for years, and I always thought they were cool. I bought one, and I have no regrets. I love it. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.